Welcome to another episode of the Love, Health, Prosperity Podcast. My name is Marcelo. I'm your host today again. And I'm so excited about today's episode because we're always looking for different types of people in our community that can inspire us, especially when it comes to mental health and being well overall, holistically. Many moons ago, I used to work at University Medical Center at a women's health clinic, and I was doing a lot of education with prenatal services. One of the things that I did notice was that a lot of the things that take place in life and a lot of the curveballs that are thrown at us sometimes are just something that we're not prepared for. But today's guest is going to give us a lot of information regarding women's health and how to manage certain situations that could be a bit stressful. And I think that's very beneficial. The reason for that is because as a community, being able to work with each other, being able to have the resources to pull them together, to be able to give education and provide a good vibe to our community is probably one of the best gifts that we can give. So today, we have a special guest, Miss Chantel.
Hello, hello.
How are you today?
I'm feeling so honored to be here. Thank you so much, Marcelo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We're very excited about having you today because you take a holistic approach in a different way. Mm-hmm. I've had guests in the past that have talked about things like Códica, which is really cool, Berenice Wellness.
Okay.
She did some really good stuff on that. And she also she talked about something called Reset. But this is something a little different because when I was reading your bio, I was so inspired at the fact that you work a lot with women. And a lot of the things that people don't understand is that there's a lot of things besides what people talk about on TV and social media and TikTok and these crazy pharmaceutical companies that are trying to put a bunch of, I'm not going to dog on them, but a bunch of garbage in our heads regarding healing. Mm-hmm. You take a different approach. Mm-hmm. Can you give us and enlighten us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Chantel Lam, and I'm a women's facilitator and apothecarist. And that means that I work with women through conception, prenatal, menstrual cycles, and beyond. The idea with that part is that I guide them and teach us how to get closer to ourselves, to our expression, our creativity, and also the importance of nourishing ourselves from the inside in to be better providers and to also set the tone for families or for the future. My apothecary is rose-based, it's plant-based, and that is because the rose has lots of resemblance to the woman, but scientifically and energetically, it can match and meet the body of a woman and actually all humans. Anywhere from tightening the tissues, cleansing the blood. It's really beautiful for the uterine lining. So that's amazing for when a woman gives birth or is about to shed her bleed. And a lot of where this came from was from my own journey. So we can step into that whenever you're ready to speak about it.
Awesome. I'd like to delve into apothecary.
Yeah.
For those that are listening right now that don't have a clue, because it is a fancy, well, not a fancy word, but something that, you don't really hear it a lot. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah. So an apothecary is a take on plant medicine, if you will. It's plants and herbs and the more natural state. Before we had pharmaceuticals as we know it today, we had pharmaceuticals as in the farm of land. And all pharmaceuticals today are actually inspired by nature and by farm culture, if you will, the earth. And so an apothecary is anywhere from maybe even soaps and things like this. For myself, it is using herbs, teas, tinctures. And a tincture is a very beautiful example of how we would extract medicine from a plant. And so in this case, let's say I have a rose tincture. It's called Dose of Rose. Mm-hmm. I use Bulgarian rose petals and alcohol. Grain alcohol, vodkas used, things like this. And the alcohol pulls the medicine from the rose petals or any plant matter that is, even mushrooms or bark or things like this. And so that extraction becomes a very potent medicine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So how did you become interested in this type of awesome natural type of medicine?
Yeah, well, since I was a little girl, we didn't grow up with the television, that was for sure. So we were outside, us, my siblings and myself. And
are you from El Paso?
No.
Okay.
I was born in California.
Great. Oh, you're California. put
Yeah.
it right there. Okay. Cool. Alrighty. So what was it like for you growing up?
Well, I mean, different. That was just like a snippet that brought me back, realizing as I got older that I was always with the earth and in the ground and playing and making concoctions and just being incredibly imaginative and creative. Like I kind of got out of that as I grew up, into my teenage years where I hit like the rock and roll crazy path. And coming out of that, it was this huge connection where by nature, my whole entire body and hands just wanted to create. I also struggled a lot with hormonal imbalance with myself, and I had a whole entire trajectory that brought me back to myself, and it was very painful. It was a moment of realizing that I was disconnected from my womanhood, and then realizing that many women are disconnected from their womanhood and our hormonal system, to be exact. So understanding that that we as humans are inspired by plants and nature, I by nature started to create medicine and getting curious on what could heal us specifically as women. But again, this medicine can be for anybody.
I'm a firm believer that your profession doesn't, you don't pick your profession. It's the other way around.
Oh, for sure.
So as a little girl, you were thinking the same thing. You were saying, okay, this is a calling. You felt it as a calling. The fact that you didn't kind of feel right with a lot of the things that were going on growing up, growth and development, maybe having these conversations. I don't know, did you have somebody to talk to about your concerns, or was it something that you were just curious and you just started kind of experimenting with your environment and seeing what it was that you wanted to do?
Wow. Well, it's like it was none of the above. I was so disconnected, right? I was so connected at one point, and I went from complete connection to being a child to like this complete other person who was like just lost. And no, I didn't have anyone to talk to. I have beautiful family and I have great parents, but there was very few people are raised being spoken to about their reproductive health, for instance. And that led me to my later 20s where this like aha moment came, and it came full circle to where I realized, wow, as a young kid, I was so connected, creative, in tune with the earth, broke kind of out of that because I was asked to stay in this like box of rather school, learning, religion, things like this. And then to come full circle and realize like, oh, okay, I realized I was being asked to stay here in this tightness when my whole reality is meant to be expanded and connected.
I like that. That's good. But you've done a lot of work. So there's a lot to unravel here in this conversation for sure. Your aha moment. Let us know a little bit more about that.
Okay, yeah, that's when it gets very real. Again, part of the passion in working with women is because our value can change. Us having value within ourselves can really change the trajectory of our life, of our families. A lot of times women accept lots of behaviors or circumstances that really diminish who we are. And I mention that because I was that person, and I was that woman who was in a 10-year relationship. And I'm very neutral. I love all people. I love all men, all women, all the things. However, in that 10-year relationship that was incredibly malicious, I realized that I had a tumor that was the size of a 4-month-old fetus, and that was growing on my ovary. And after doing lots of work within myself and kind of figuring out the trajectory of what got me there, the reality was that I was with a partner who had many partners, and that activity infected my womb, and it also caused lots of distress on my body. So there were lots of signs prior to me meeting myself there, and realizing a few things were happening. I was neglecting myself, and I think a lot of women do. We think, I have a period, I'm a woman, I have a menstrual cycle, I'm basically meant to be a mess on this planet, and my body's a nuisance. I strongly believe that most women have thoughts that way. And so those are my thought patterns for a long time, and in regards to having this this tumor and this pain, I realized that I was in a relationship where my partner was involved with other people. And I then realized, okay, this is a really big deal. We live in a society where we're forgiving infidelity too often, or we're so disconnected that we are in this place of not obtaining our value and disconnect, a little, that's that part. And then it gets to the part where I'm in the hospital and I'm in the doctor's office and I'm asking tons and tons of questions to a Western medicine physician, right? And I'm like, hello, what's going on? What do you mean? What did you do to me? And the answer was always like, you don't have the tumor. You're flat. Your belly's flat now. So why don't you just turn the page? Why don't you just turn the page? And I remember I was so persistent, and I kept making appointments asking like, hey, I have more questions. Like, I just really don't understand what happened. I really don't understand what's up with my womb. I don't understand anything about me. How could this happen? And those were the two aha moments where I was like, wow, I didn't have education on my reproductive well-being at all. I didn't have that information to guide myself, to understand my menstrual cycle, to understand my moods, my fluctuations, my needs. And that in turn was the foundation of my value. If every woman could understand why we're fluctuating, what it is that we need, then we again value ourselves via expression, via creativity. And then merging that with Western medicine, who says, here, take birth control, here, you're fine, here, look, your little belly's cute now, it's all good, and just pushes you out of the office. I was pissed.
Yeah.
So I got on a plane and I went to Bali to study women, and I became a women's facilitator. And that was the journey. That was the beginning of it all.
Wow. Okay. So you yes, that's definitely a lot of, that's quite the journey, right?
Yeah.
And it opens up your curiosity a lot to know and understand what's going on with your body, and why aren't a lot of people asking these questions, right? Because I think that you just mentioned something that's extremely important about hormonal activity and being able to connect with others and being able to understand what's going on. Why don't you think that more people are having these conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I think it became complete taboo, right? I mean, there's a part of our society where men were asked to suppress their emotions to maintain their household. And in a sense, women didn't have the place to also explore who they were. And it's complete taboo at some point to acknowledge that a woman bleeds. It's complete taboo to acknowledge that a man also needs his emotional needs met. And because there was this taboo and resistance and shame almost, it was separation, right? So it's like, I'm in my own world, you're in your own world, we don't have each other, when the foundation of our whole entire life is connection amongst men and women, especially because we are the parents of this whole entire lifetime, right? Where if you want to procreate, regardless, I think men and women are parents of this earth.
So do you think it's a kind of a stigma type of thing where people are not having these conversations, or people are not taking the time to really get to know their own bodies and themselves, and what everything consists of as far as health and hormones and anatomy and moods? They're all connected.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that we live in a society that doesn't necessarily want our species, our human species, to be intelligent or in tune with ourselves. And there's great reason for that. The more that we know ourselves, the greater force we are. The less we're going to listen to certain entities or ideas or politics or politicians who are trying to maybe inundate us with pharmaceuticals or unhealthy food. It's a big reality right now.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that whole thing with the standard American diet, that's just something else. What you talked about right now with birth control, all that stuff just has a ton to do with what's going on right now with the way we think, with society, and how people take care of themselves. And I think it's important that people understand these type of things, because only then can we make those small changes. But this is where you come in, though, as an educator. Talk to us about, how you take an approach to healing. Because one of the things that I did notice on your website, which is really cool, and totally looking forward for you going to launch this website, is the womb healing.
Okay.
Because when I was reading it, you talked about a lot of things that a lot of ladies are going through right now. And sometimes they're thinking to themselves, well, this is probably one of the reasons why this happened to me. Not taking care of myself, not knowing about my body.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, in regards to what that womb healing is like.
The womb healing, yes.
Okay. So what I emphasize on when it comes to like that specific part, which is yoni steaming. Yoni is Sanskrit for sacred passageway. So this breaks down the stigma, the taboo already within our language. In English, vagina means sheath for a sword. And in Sanskrit, again, yoni, is the word for vulva, and it's sacred passageway. Okay, so this steaming process or this connection process with the womb really helps. Really brings in plants, the steam of a plant, of an herbal tea, to go upwards into the vulva, the canal of a woman, and this allows for healing properties such as like cleansing again the blood, tightening the tissues, removing or easing up any mass. So this is like cysts or fibroids, even potential like tumors. They're just like mass accumulation that is happening. So through this process, through womb healing, we sip cacao, and cacao is a vasodilator. So that is like the first thing that we really invite besides meditation and breathing techniques. We sip cacao to vasodilate, to open the heart and then calm the mind. And this will help the woman or guide the woman into understanding and listening to the voice of the womb. And it can get very mystical. However, that's so scientific, and any woman can say, I know my daughter's not well right now. I know my son this. I know my husband that. I just know. And that intuition lives in the womb space. So the more connected we are via the breath, stilling the mind, this cacao opening the heart space, and then inviting maybe like an herbal steam to heal what we've gone through, to heal the pregnancy, to heal the postpartum, to heal maybe the heavy period or the lack of period, whatever it is the situation is. Again, causes or invites more clarity, and invites a clearer vessel so that we are connected to our intuition, to our heart space, to the softening aspects of femininity, and that's again something that most women are not even giving themselves time for, because they become rigid and intense and angry, and that's okay. It's been a mechanism for a long time. On the other side of things, I want to say that all this at the end of it, as far as sitting with me, is a moment for every woman to become responsible enough to realize, like, yes, we've been through this trajectory of life, and it's been hurtful, and we haven't always had the place to be exactly who we are, and we weren't educated to be who we are. But there's enough information out there, and there's enough space in our lifetime to come home to ourselves, to soften, so that we can heal. And that healing equals being intuitive, taking care of your body, opening up the heart, releasing the mental chatter. They don't go hand in hand. Like, an anxious mind is not best friends with the womb. And when you have that disconnect, then you're not fully in your purpose as woman, truthfully. And the world misses out on that.
Yeah, big time.
Big time.
Like you wouldn't believe. I totally get what you're saying. I think you've said a lot that's very interesting. So when you say soft femininity, and you talk about, being in your zone and understanding yourself, I mean, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? What can somebody actually say with these crazy times now? What would it be to embrace femininity right now?
Yeah, wow. It's such a charged question. And by all means, I want to say that a woman doesn't have to be soft either. That's part of the issue, is that we've been asked to just be a sweet little woman, and just be a sweet little thing, and maybe just shush. And I totally acknowledge that. However, as much as our rage and our emotions and our chaos needs place, because it's very much part of our hormonal system, soft femininity is, for me, a moment where a woman has come home to herself enough, again, to her value, to her expression, to her creativity, to her nourishment, to her nurturing senses, to where she has grace and grit, to where the chaotic parts of her have an outlet, or to where she knows how to guide the man in her life, for instance, or the men in her life. For me, it's my father, who's like a great staple, where I can see where he's anxious, and I'm like, wow, you don't get it. You're moving so fast, and like, it's rattling my womanhood. But it's me saying, hey, Dad, do you want to have tea? Let's just, and the delivery and the grace and the poise takes practice. And if we stop being angry at what we've gone through, if we stop looking backwards and start taking ownership for who we are, then perhaps that would be the invitation for soft femininity. A woman who knows that her chaos is invited and necessary, but knows how to channel it, and still simultaneously can lead the path through her softness. It's classic. It's love leading love.
Yes. It's embracing. I think that's really awesome. Why do you think we've kind of steered away from that? Why do you think people are kind of just being a little more harder when it comes to, the heart and making decisions and not looking weak? Why is that? Why do you think this is happening in our society? And is this really something that's really good for us? Or do you think that, a lot of families can be, feeling the negative effects because of all of this?
Yeah. For some reason, and I don't know why exactly, but it's become easier for society to disconnect and avoid. And we can look at maybe social media and also, where we came from. A lot of us had, I know my parents didn't have parents who even spoke to each other. And that in itself is a huge deal. So that bleeds into when I say, creativity and expression. When I say expression, I'm talking about communication. There's a saying I say, it's called communication is lubrication. And since we have forgotten to communicate, we are no longer lubricating our families, our vessels, our relationships, just that. So a few things. I think it's become easier, unfortunately, although we don't realize how turbulent it is to disconnect. For some reason, it has become easier to suppress and avoid. And the other part is that, again, without getting too crazy on any sort of theories, there's just a reality that we're living in a society that makes it really easy for us to be disconnected. When it comes to like the heart and softening and things like this, there's a school called the Heart Math, and it talks about how intelligent the heart is, so much so that the heart actually has about 40,000 neurons, and it's super intelligent. The mind might have just as much, or if not a little less. And so that's another intelligence that we have not been taught. We're taught algebra, but not the brilliance of your whole entire body. Like, realize that we pay doctors thousands of dollars to tell us why something hurts. We have outsourced our brilliance.
Yeah. And not only that, but what they're trying to offer also as a cure is not something that's good for the body either, right?
Right.
Like, for example, you have a lot of people and I don't I don't have stats in front of me right now, but I know that there's a lot of people taking antidepressants, a medication to kind of calm them down a little more. There's people that, alcohol consumption is just going off the roof, and substance abuse, things like that. They're just kind of, putting a Band-Aid over a lot of these things. When in reality, I think that all they have to do is just kind of delve into, being able to understand what's going on with themselves and being able to find community. So let me ask you that question. How important is community in your line of work?
Wow. I mean, to face off with yourself in the face of others, with people, is one of the most courageous things that you can do. And it's also one of the most beautiful containers that you can face off with yourself, to, again, breathe with somebody, have cacao with somebody, realize, for myself, for instance, working with women, where you're like in front of another woman who has maybe had or shared similar struggles to you, and peeling off the layers is again, it's just like this container. It's the most, it's can be one of the safest containers, and it's absolutely important because you realize a few things. One of them being that you're not alone. And I think one of the issues that we have in society right now is that, again, when we're isolating and we're just in our mind thinking, I'm the only one that's like this. I'm the only one that has these issues. I don't know why I'm wrong. I don't know what I can do. I'm messed up. La, 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 la. And that by nature causes isolation. So when you can break free from that track and you can sit and provide a space or for yourself truly in front of others, then the rest starts to trickle, right? The communication, the expression, the moments where you're just literally sitting in front of a mirror and realizing, like, I can't believe my voice shaked as I shared that. I can't believe this woman went through that too. I can't believe that we're actually one and the same. I can't believe, like, that's revelation after revelation. And the idea is that you take that and work through and with yourself, and then continue sitting in the face of others so that you can make a difference. I mean, I wish we would all understand that, again, the more you value, the more you create, the more you communicate, the more you sit with community, the more you become an anchor, a pillar for more to follow.
Great. Yeah, that is great. Awesome. So I've had some people that that may have said, hey, you got to ask her these questions. So
Okay.
I do have a couple questions
Okay.
that I think would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The first question was, what inspired you to start hosting women's circles?
Wow. I love that question so much. Going back to what I mentioned earlier in the podcast, where there was a lot of turbulence in my relationship, I also had a lot of turbulence with women. I was like how do you call it? Like a dude's girl. I like to hang out with guys over hanging out with girls. And I noticed that that's still a pattern for some women, they're just, it's like you can hang out with the guys and like, girls, we have judgment against each other. We have a big wound where it's like, you're prettier, you're uglier, you're weird, you're too sexy, you're too much, you're intelligent, I don't fit there. Oh, you're a mom. Oh, you're a businesswoman. Oh, everything's being measured at all times. And it's a program. Like we're literally born into this life and it's already like injected in us. You're basically 7-year-old girl already measuring up other girls.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had that first aha moment that we spoke to earlier, I realized that I had all my best friends who were not great friends. I mean, very terrible things and lots of measuring up and never loyal to one another. And so in that disconnect where I realized, well, gosh, I probably chose these friendships because I'm disconnected from myself, because I was comparing myself also, because I didn't value myself. So I wasn't able to maintain an integral relationship with women just as I wasn't with men.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized when women come together, it is such a force. Every woman knows that. Even if we're still dealing with disconnection, every woman knows what it's like to be in a room with women. It's powerful, it's enlightening, it's nurturing, we relate, there's tears, there's joy, there's anger, there's silliness, there's just so much coherence in our lives. We get it. And I think, again, every woman knows that, because the moment a man walks into the room, this is nothing against a man, but the moment he walks in, it's like, oh, you just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful, because we speak a language that,
Yes.
again, the world gets to feel and hear. And above all, it's a feeling, right? Because if a woman is nurtured by her women, then she can go out into the world and carry that softness and carry that femininity, because she has her place to be the chaos and the tears and the mess and the beauty and the drama and the sweet and the soft and the super hungry, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wanted to have like a women's circle, you would be able to do that, right?
With
Awesome.
my whole heart. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anywhere from a blessing way, which is, like a baby shower. We do that. Anywhere from a birthday party, or also disconnection. So it's also a beautiful way of even connecting as families. For my family, for instance, I beg them to let's have a circle and let's just open up and talk and let's just share cacao, because that is what cacao does. It is a vehicle to communication. So yes.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next question would be,
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your journey that led you to this work?
Yeah.
I know you've already shared one already, but maybe a memory that you thought was really cool that you think that the world should hear about.
Okay. So I mentioned that I was really upset about the doctors and myself not knowing anything about my body. And this is in my late 20s, where I was like, wow, I don't know anything about my menstrual cycle. I don't know anything about me. Basically, I don't know what I've been dealing with. I don't know. All I know is I get this thing. Maybe I have a baby because I have it now, and that's it. In that moment where I was so upset and I went to Bali, it was the peak of COVID. So the world was shutting down and I was asked to not get on a plane. And I said, sayonara, I'm getting on a plane.
See ya.
Yeah, straight through Hong Kong and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I got on a plane. I went to Bali and I am in this immersive for 2 weeks, learning about the womb space, learning about our anatomy, learning about the nervous system, about the intelligence of the female anatomy. And when no one was on their phones for 2 weeks, when we got out, the world was shutting down. And it was over 27 women, anywhere from Egypt, Africa, Paris, the United States. We were from everywhere. And still in this very moment, I can feel like the chills and the sensation in my body. And that was a pivotal moment where I knew that this work was going to be with me forever. The fact that we did this courageous move in the peak of this crazy time, of this, I don't even know what to call that moment.
It's kind of hard to put a label on it. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes. So, you know, we took this courageous leap and we broke out of it, and all of us were seedlings. That's how we saw each other. Some planes got canceled, some people couldn't go home, some people were scared of who knows what, but at the end we sat there in prayer and we're like, we are officially seedlings that are going to travel the whole entire world into different homes and make a difference and bring women together. So that was like the pivotal staple moment where I was with women from all over the world, and no matter the circumstances of or the state of the world, we had made a change, and we were choosing to make a change amidst this chaos.
That is so cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So how do your services strengthen families?
Wow. So, again, mama, women, there's a lot of responsibility placed on us, really. And I hope that it is taken with the utmost honor. I want to say it should, but I understand that it doesn't always feel that way. It can feel burdensome, it can feel confusing and really lonely. So I want to speak with compassion on that. I strongly believe that a woman, whether she's a mother or not, she is a mother to this world. And the way that she carries herself, the way that she values herself, the way that she speaks, the way that she walks in and out of the room, the way that she guides her loved ones, whether it is her mother or father or her husband or her children, I feel like that is the absolute foundation into how the family will grow. And obviously, a woman needs, the man to be there or her children to admire and honor her. But it really does start with the example, because she's grown, she's wise, she's been through things. She knows. Every woman, no matter what, knows deeply that she's intuitive, intelligent, brilliant, and capable. And so that impacts families, because again, being mama, being the root, being the trunk, being the leaves, being the branches, like how do you not provide like the shade and the sunlight and the nutrients and the fruit and all the things? Mm-hmm. And from there, you are the greatest example of, again, reverence for self.
That is so cool. Awesome. Thank you for answering that also.
Yeah.
And then finally, I mean, how does a guy also help knowing all this information? Mm-hmm. How can he contribute? After his wife went through a workshop, through a circle with you, mm-hmm. What could he expect? What kind of things, if she does take it serious and she really connects and really gets a lot of the information, what kind of things could you start to see? I mean, or what kind of things can a guy appreciate? Because I don't want to, the wording has to be correct. It doesn't have to be I don't want it to sound like if, we're trying to take advantage of something. On the contrary, what we want to do is be able to have access to this information to make our environment a better place. Mm-hmm. What kind of things can we expect after, our significant other has gone through a workshop with you? Wow.
Well, a sense of curiosity is always very beautiful, inquiry is amazing, and patience. Sometimes a woman can feel really raw and distraught, and to have a home or a container or some strength with a little touch of softness from the men in our lives, can go a long way. So curiosity, compassion, and inquiry is something that could really be helpful. Is simply asking certain questions, and maybe attunement is also something that's very important, and that means learning each other's energy, learning each other's body. It's like, maybe do you see her, in what state do you see her? Mm-hmm. And who can you become? Who are you actually? And self-inquiry is also super helpful. Like, dang, maybe you as a man need a moment to go inquire within and say, who do I become when she crumbles? Do I crumble with her, or do I broaden my chest and hold her? Am I curious about her trajectory, or do I demonize her for being chaotic and a mess and crying? Can I be curious with her as she comes home to herself?
Wow, that's good. I love that answer. So awesome. Cool. All right, so we'll take, time goes by so quick, but yeah. So we'll take the last couple minutes for you to let the world know how they can find you and the type of things that you do.
Amazing. Well, I'll plug I have a beautiful Galentine's Day event coming up on February 15th. That's going to be really cool. We're working with small business owners, women-owned business owners at Viejo Coffee and Lost and Found. We're going to have yoga classes, cacao, and then again, a little bit of shopping. And then a girls' run club is going to be running up Kearns Place. So that's a cool event that people can catch me at here really soon. Other than that, my Instagram is Shanti Mama. And
which is linked at the bottom of the screen.
Awesome. And then I have my website, which is Om Shanti, and that's AUM CHANTI. So you can hire me for different events like a blessing way, a birthday, things like this, connection with your family. I also offer prenatal classes for postpartum mamas and also fertility. So you don't always need to be conceiving or thinking about pregnancy at all. You can also just have this session to come home to yourself. And then, of course, women's circles and retreats to come in the future.
So awesome. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being on our show today. And thank you for adding this awesome value. Mm-hmm. It's a different side of mental health and well-being and family cohesiveness that we haven't had before, but extremely beneficial to what we're trying to do here. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching this week's episode of the LHP podcast. We'll see you next week.